Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Penalty Loop Podcast, a podcast about biathlon by Jordan Gottschalk from Penalty Loop and a regular guest, RJ Weiss from Biathlon Analytics.
Coming to you live from my car once again. the Penalty Loop Podcast.
The Outlaws have kicked you out once more.
Once more. Yeah, so...
the Outlaws, I said, the in-laws.
Well, it's okay. I don't think they're listening. But yeah, it's a small house and lots of people in there and just not a lot of space. So here we are sitting in the car and recording. So thank you, Ford.
At least you're not freezing to death. Eh?
Yeah, no, not this week. Thank you, Ford, for providing me this wonderful studio. I on my way out here, I told my wife, I said, Katie, I'm going out to my studio, and she got a very, very long laugh at my expense. That I was going out here.
Maybe she'll use that against you. When you're in the kitchen next time, she's like, "Can you just go back to the studio?"
Why can't you go back to the studio? Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So, but I think I've improved the setup this time. I've got the computer out here. I've got the microphone out here. So, hopefully it sounds better. At least can't speak for the quality of the conversation. Maybe that won't be as good, but we'll do our best. Yeah.
Well, you're lucky you're not here because I think it's minus 24 or something. So
yeah. So when we move up, that will not be an option anymore. This will no more car studio. It's gonna hopefully
heated garage.
Heated garage. There we go. We could do that. Yeah. Hopefully we can. Just that's actually one of the things we've talked about. Now we're a minute and 30 seconds in, and we're veering wildly off course. But when we get our new place, is to have an actual office, because all of our rooms are bedrooms. I mean, we've got our bedroom and then the kids. We could have put them in the same room and decided to give them each their own room and sacrifice our own space. So one of the losses is the recording studios, the recording space. So that's fine. We'll get it back someday.
Well, that's settled now too.
Yeah, this is true. Now I got the car.
All right. No, but I mean, yeah, we were chatting about other things, but there wasn't really any big news anyway. So
no, I was going to ask you, did anything happen this week? I mean, not really much in the way of biathlon. Maybe we can make it a short one this week.
Yeah, it didn't feel overly busy or anything. Or did you? Wasn't there something with a Norwegian?
Yeah, they had a whole press conference. And obviously, we're joking around, but it was strange. We knew that Johannes Tingnesbo. We knew that. I guess we all thought that we knew that the finish line was going to come most likely after next year. So it was going to be, in the not too distant future. And I guess it's not going to be next year.
There was comment made at some point that he was frustrated that Oslo didn't put in a bid for next year or 2 years from now World Championship, that he might have wanted to retire after that. And then, but you know what? Like, I'm definitely not going to say I told you so or anything like that, because that's not the case. I didn't see this coming. But at the same time, I kind of feel that since he had a child, that the priority of biathlon changed a little bit for him. Mm-hmm. And in a sense, I'm not shocked, especially he's not used to being in 40th place after 3 loops. Mm-hmm. And I just, who knows? Yeah. It's hard to say, but he just, he's probably one of the few who maybe lives his life a bit like a, professional football player or soccer player, where probably needs to talk to people every day and in the news every time. And
yeah.
I don't know. And maybe he's just, kind of done with it. And was it last year? Was that the first time that you didn't practice with the team over Christmas and went home? Or was it?
I don't remember if it was the first time, but yeah, he's definitely been doing that more and more. And I know over the summertime, he's had his own thing going on, and I think even Ziggy Mazet was, this fall was like, I don't know what he did this summer.
Right.
And I think you're right. I think, the two things that happened around the same time was that his kid was born, his son was born. And then Fourcade retired around the same, I don't know if it was the same year or was within, it was within a year of each other. It was very, very close, a couple of years. And not having, because he specifically mentioned in his retirement press conference, his big rival is Foucault, which makes sense, and not having that person out there. I wonder if that also, there's no, not that other people haven't been competitive, because we've obviously seen Canton Fillon-Maillet win a overall globe a couple of years ago, and Legride has been very close, but there's no real measuring stick. I think you're right, though. I think it all comes down to family. And when the news first came out, like, I was shocked. I think, just even...
What a timing, probably.
Exactly. I was going to say the timing. More than anything else, the timing. Like, if he had said before the season, it wouldn't have been as stunning. But it was just in the middle of a weekend, in the middle of the season, not even at Worlds. It was just sort of like, whoa. That's...
but it's also... Go ahead.
I was going to say living Eastern Standard Time. Like, the news broke almost exactly as I was waking up. So I was like, what is happening right now? Because I'm waking up and it's like, is this real? Like, am I seeing this? And there it was. But I even found at the start of the season too, when like there were, generally there was talk about how he motivated himself with breaking the record. Mm-hmm. And I mean, again, at the time I didn't really give it that much thought, but in hindsight, it kind of feels like one of those goals that's almost, let's come up with a goal, but that wasn't from the heart, but it was more like, well, it would be nice to have. But like, I don't feel he would really care if he doesn't get it. And maybe I'm completely off, and maybe he's pissed off every night that his chances are declining pretty fast. But no, I agree.
If that's your motivation, and look at the season that he's been having so far, like he's in first place, but it's not like he's raking in the wins.
Well, did you hear him during the press conference? He said something like, he admitted that he'd sort of been gifted this amazing talent, and he said, like, he hardly needs to train to be number one in the world, which makes me wonder, like, how much did he actually train? And which is incredible. That's just an immense talent that he was just born with, and obviously he has worked really, really hard to cultivate that talent.
Because when he says I didn't train very hard, I think that's
sure.
His standards,
exactly.
Not ours.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't really imagine him lying on the couch every day.
That'd be hilarious, wouldn't it? He's just sitting there, he's got his bag of peanuts or something. But he's done it all.
It's all in the Levita, right?
He's won it all. Like, he's got 5 overall globes. He won all those Olympic medals back in Beijing. Even when it was a down year, and he still had 5 Olympic medals. He had that incredible 22-23 season where he won 19 of 23 races or whatever it was, and was only outside of the podium once. I mean, it's like the greatest season that we will probably ever see in biathlon history. And what else is there for him to do except break the record?
Well, that's what I was thinking. Some people are like, hey, I won my gold medal at the Olympics.
Yeah.
But, I mean, he's got every color from different Olympics, What more could you... I mean, not to say that he doesn't want to race, or that he wouldn't want to get gold in Turin, but... Because he was Antholz a place that he liked, that he was successful.
I think he was successful. I mean, he has. Yeah. He's obviously been successful there. You look at the
everywhere, but yeah.
But I think especially if you go back to the Worlds there a few years back, I think he had a particularly successful Worlds there. So, and then I also think he and I are roughly the same age. He's a couple of years younger than me, but same sort of life point where 2 young kids, and he talked about how just missing time, and then he also talked about. It's not just like he loves racing, but him training and being away, like it puts strain. And he said his family, but you could sort of feel like he's saying like his wife, which makes sense because she takes on such a burden. I'm sure as the primary, caregiver for those kids, as they're growing up, and I'm sure just being a partner and a husband, like he doesn't want to keep putting that on her as he chases this, and I really felt that, and I think. I wonder. This is me speculating. I know nothing, but he specifically went out of his way earlier this, a couple of weeks ago, talking about how he was sick, and it was sort of difficult because he's sort of trying to balance, his kids also being sick and taking care of them, but also training. And I wonder, was there a moment where he just felt torn? Again, me totally speculating, but as a dad, and I know you feel this too, like when your kids are sick, like you just want to be there and take care of them. And if there's any point,
I wonder
if
he actually had to be away from them not to get sick.
That's what I was going to wonder. Yeah,
right?
And I'm sure if that was the case, like he probably felt like crap that he had to do that. And it was like, you know what? I've won it all. I don't want to do that anymore. Yeah. And that's awesome. For somebody at the top of the sport to be able to say, I'm ready to be done. I'm ready to just be with my family. Like that's a great thing. And I totally respect it. Nothing but
and I mean, I don't think there was ever the idea that he would be like a Björn Dahlen 2.0 where he would keep on going until his 40s. So, yeah. It's I was thinking about it, and I was like, it's a huge loss, and we've been very lucky to see him for so many years and still be able to see him this year because, like you said, it's an incredible talent and brought so much. But at the same time, it opens up the racing a bit because it's always the downside of somebody who is really, really good. I mean, especially 2-3 seasons ago, it was almost like, if Bo has a bad day, who has a chance to beat him? Because even then it would still not be given.
Oh, and yeah. I mean, he had, there were times where he was beating people by like, it was like a minute and something in an individual. And it's like, all right, this is just ridiculous.
Well, I'll never forget that sprint in Canmore.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Where it was like a minute.
It was outrageous.
You could just see him flying, and he didn't even look. There's some athletes, I think of Benny Dole. After
Campbell,
5 seconds, he looked like he was dead. Yeah. But, I mean, he still managed to do the whole race, and that was just, a style that worked for him. But with Bo, and even, we'll get to that, but when he, let's just say, took it easy for him. Yeah. Like he was literally looked like somebody who, was just out for whatever, not even want to get a drop of sweat or anything. And then you see, the athletes that are with BIP 85 and young guys who still have a lot to learn and need to improve in their skiing. And they would just like clamp on, hoping that they could keep up. And they must have been thinking, what the hell's going on? I'm right behind JT Bo. And then you realize he's like just going out for a little leisure skiing.
I joke sometimes that the first lap of a mass start, unless Jack Lang goes crazy, is sort of just, it's kind of kind of cruising, and it looks just sort of like I call it Sunday Ski Club, and that's what he looked like during the individuals. He was just kind of like, I'm just gonna cruise around. Before we start talking about the week, though, I just wanted to last thing is I didn't realize how much he meant to me. I mean, obviously he's been such an incredible biathlete, and I've respected that and just tried to monitor or take stock of like how great he is, but I didn't realize how important he was to my biathlon life until I started thinking about him not being there. And I used the term on social media. I called him like my biathlon North Star, which is sort of like what he was. It's like he just was a constant. He was always there. You could always count on him to sort of be within a certain range of performances, and he was a great measuring stick for everybody else. And that's just the way he's been. Even before he was, and I guess he's sort of like Lou Jean Monod in this respect, in that even before he won an overall, Lou has not won an overall yet, but like there's just something like you can just see it in them, like it's going to happen. And I'm not saying that Lou Jean Monod is going to be the greatest woman, biathlete of all time, but he just sort of was that measuring stick for me, and it's going to be weird not having it there. Like it just feels like there's going to be a hole, and I guess I'm excited to see who fills it. Like,
well, I've seen how loyal you are to your favorite athletes.
Oh, I know. I'll dump them in 2 minutes.
And how easily you switch. So I'm not too worried about you falling in a big hole. Like
I'm not worried about me falling in a big hole.
End of the first race on Wednesday, you're like, hey, I got this new guy that I'm really rooting for. He's
Have
the
you
rock
seen
in my
biathlon
life. Yeah. So Do
And
you
let's
think
be
this
honest.
will have
Let's
any
be honest.
impact
It's going to
on
be Campbell
Tarjei?
Wright. It's going to be Campbell Wright, like we know it.
Well, there you go. Yeah.
But yeah, and then one last thing was that we got to see all the other athletes react, and the one that of course got to me, like it did a lot of people, was seeing Sturla Holmgren. Like he was really emotional in that interview, and it was definitely not like there was nothing forced about it, and it's so interesting because without JT Bowe, like he would have 3 overall globes potentially, right? I mean, obviously you can't just make it happen, but
Yeah.
This guy
he should be happy.
He'd beaten him so many times, and he would look absolutely devastated, like he was never going to see his brother again.
Did you see the translation of that at all?
I did not. I almost want to leave it a mystery.
Well, because what my very, very limited Norwegian made me think of is that he was more referring to the moment where JT Bowe announced it to the team and was very emotional, and that made him emotional. I guess a mix of a lot of thoughts, but and for some reason I thought I read somewhere that I thought it described, and again that's just my bad Norwegian, but that he was his roommate. I always assumed that the Bowe brothers were on the same room.
Okay.
And it probably is. Like again, like I'm probably just reading things that don't exist, but even then, that would only been 3 years or so, 4 years. But I mean, these guys do so much together, right?
I know. Yeah. Sort of attached at the hip for so long.
And
I mean, they travel around. They're our family.
Took them by surprise too. Do you think JT already had this in his mind? Not to announce it this weekend, but more like, hey, if it's not going, I might stop earlier.
I don't know. I don't think you just come to this decision like it has to be in your mind.
No, but it could also be something of, after a couple of not so good races and not feeling great, and then, being with your kids who are sick and you have to go. And no. Do you think it will impact Tarjei at all?
I don't know.
It will impact him, but his decision.
I don't know. I mean, Tarjei obviously has to worry about keeping his spot, which I think he's safe. But will he? I still have a hard time seeing anybody who, has the ability to compete in the Olympics next season. And Ziggy Mazet talked about this too. Like they're in the Olympic cycle, like they're building towards the Olympics. So I sort of feel like if you're competing this year and you've got the opportunity and there's nothing else going on, that like, you're going to come back for one more go, but I don't know. I guess we'll see. Yeah, it's going to be strange.
Well, remember we talked, I think last year when we were sort of talking about potentially Tarjei retiring and stuff. And I think I mentioned at the time, like he seems to be such a nice guy that he would actually consider the idea of, hey, I won so much already. I want to give the new guys a shot at it too.
Maybe he's not so nice. He really wants more medals.
Yeah, well, who knows? Yeah, but
has anybody checked to see how many Olympic medals he has? Is there any chance he could catch his brother? I'm obviously kidding, but maybe that would be a reason to come back. But yeah, we've talked so much about how this Norwegian team has been so static and unchanging in terms of like the roster makeup for so long, and there looks like there's a chance for
fall in a big hole.
Real turnover in the next right, because obviously JT Bowe's not going to be there at the end of this year, and we can talk about Christensen later because it doesn't look like he's going to be around, and Tarjei's only got a couple more years left. So that's 3 of the 6 that have been.
All right, are you going to ever fill that?
Well, yeah, I don't know.
Like there must be some sort of internal party going on with some of these guys.
Oh yeah, you think about like Johannes Dahl is like, oh, thank God, I don't have to worry about being sent down again. Yeah. Well, he always does, but because he's the first guy out. But yeah. Oh man, I will, and we'll have more chance to talk about this at the end of the season. But it's going to be really strange when next season kicks off and he's not there. And I guess we had the same thing when Fourcade left, except when Fourcade left, we sort of he'd already passed the torch on to JT, and so we sort of knew. And of course, Bjorndalen just went on forever. But it's just going to be really strange to not have that guy there. And we'll see. It could be really exciting. Not knowing, it's just going to be great. Yeah,
I want to see. I want to see the last race of the season in Oslo. There must be a mass start, hey? It's usually a mass start.
Yeah. Do you want to buy tickets? Honestly, like, I'm not even kidding. Let's do it. 2 months from now, we could do it. Katie might kill me, but that's, a risk I'm willing to take. I might have to
lock the door. I might lock the door. You might. Can you live in your studio for 2 months?
I might have to live in the studio. No, I might have to. Just get there and claim asylum. I run the risk of being murdered on arrival back in the States, so I have to stay.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Well, should we talk about the actual racing? Or did you have something else?
Let's do that.
Yeah.
Well, I just, in general, I wanted to mention they were announcing this morning after the men's mass start that they had over 80,000 people in Ruhpolding.
Holy cow.
Over the 5 days. And I'm pretty sure that was just the tickets they sell for the seats. I don't know if they have to pay to stand next to the course or not, but
goodness.
I think, when it was in Schalke, you were talking about how amazing it was to see what a big sport it is, and
well,
I think this tells you again.
Right? There are these parts on the course that aren't really at the range, and they still had grandstands. You'd be like halfway around the course, and there's just a grandstand there. I was like, it's like you're walking around a golf course at a golf tournament, and there's like there's seating at like the seventh hole. Not a super exciting hole, but there's seating there, and it's like here you are in the middle of the loop, and there's some stands. It is thrilling to think that there is this place where biathlon is so popular that they can do that, and I am going to get there one of these days.
Well, a lot of athletes always say that they're also knowledgeable fans. And I mean, in all honesty, like the ones you described that are sitting at the so-called seventh hole somewhere in the shadow, cold on a stand, you must really like biathlon to do that.
You gotta love it.
That you're just going for a walk in the forest and you're like, oh, there's something going on. Let's check it out.
You just stumbled upon it. That's actually how half the people in Soldier Hollow got there last year. Was they were just out and about, and they saw this thing, and look at this.
Why is this closed off?
Yeah. Oh man. So, do you mind if I lead off?
Go right ahead.
How cool was this weekend on the women's side that we had all three of our top contenders like really show well? Because we had Jean Monod look amazing in the individual. We had Elvira go perfect and win with relative ease in the mass start, and then you had Preuss getting second in both. And by getting second in both, she actually expanded her lead on both Lou and Elvira by the end of the weekend. So it's like, and then of course Preuss anchors the German women's team who wins the relay. So I mean, all three of the top women performed like the top women, and that's, you don't always see that. It's fun. This is really fun.
Wow, and I mean, what a champ to your direct opponents win a race each, and you're still, extending your lead.
Oh, I know. I was going to write about this, and actually I put it as something I wanted to mention, but that's how you win a globe, right? Like, that's how you do it, is that you might not win the race, and we've talked about this so many times, but you find a way to get to the podium. And in particular, today, Preuss, I think she was in 7th place after the third shoot, or maybe 8th place. Like, she was back about 30 seconds from the lead, and the lead was Elvira and Doro and Jean Monod. So her two top contenders are 30 seconds ahead of her, and then they've got the podium in their hands. And she has this, Preuss has this great fourth lap, she gets to the last shoot and she nails it. And then in that first like 500 to 700 meters, she puts in this big surge. And even though Elvira is gone, like she bridges up to Richard and Doro to put herself in the fight for the podium. And ultimately, is the strongest woman, to get second. I mean, it was just
that was a fun fight too.
A brilliant race.
Because it was a climb where she kind of seemed to, make her move. Well, I think she was making her move, but then Jean Richard, all of a sudden was in front of her again. I don't know. It seemed like she had better skis or something. Because it's almost like in the downhill, she just caught right up again. But
she did. Yeah, absolutely.
It was so cool. Yeah,
it was so much fun, and we can talk about her more later. But just having Doro as a part of that fight was great.
I know.
To have just like the old champ, like just like, hey, I'm here. And then we had Suvi came up, and briefly joined them. So there was a group of 4. This was just a really fun race today, and it was a fun women's weekend all around. We could only be so lucky to have this happen, for the rest of the season. But this has been a really fun overall race, and all credit in the world to Preuss that she not only is keeping her cool, but actually expanding her lead. As the weekend goes by. That was great. I was so happy to see it this week.
Yeah, and I mean there were many other things to get excited about.
Were there?
I loved seeing Gantler coming back in her shape and looking strong. Obviously, Canadians, both the women's relay in 9th and and Lunder in 14th on the individual, and also qualifying for the mass start was awesome.
You
so many.
You called that, didn't you? Like you said, was it last week? Oh yeah. So she must have been feeling something.
Yep. Yeah, no, she looks strong, man, and I gotta look up her name because I always say it wrong. The girl from out east.
Moser?
I think no, it's Shiloh.
Russo?
But I want to make Shiloh Russo. Shot clean in the relay. Because I mean, based on the results so far, you probably would consider her the weakest of the 4, and then to come out and shoot clean.
Oh yeah,
man, it was so impressive. I mean, they all shot fantastic. Like 2. 1 reload, 0, and then 3 reloads for the final leg for Nadia Moser. That's fantastic.
Yeah, I think the Canadian women. I hate to keep banging this drum, but like I'm very excited about them. Down the line, and I think this is just scratching the surface. Of what they can do.
Right.
I'm excited. Lunder, especially. Speaking of athletes, we don't know how many more years we're going to have. It was really fun to see her get back up there, and I'm really hopeful she's got a big race coming in about 3-ish weeks. That would be really exciting. It feels like she's building that way. It was a lot of fun to see Canadian athletes popping up there again. It feels like it's been a little bit of a bumpy year. But yeah, that was good.
Well, they're everywhere, right? Even in Canada on Monday night.
Yeah, I know. When you said who you ran into, I was like, why are they not? why are they not in Europe? But they made it out there, I guess.
Yeah, it was fun. It was so much fun. Her name is totally
Emily Dixon.
Draw a blank now. Emily Dixon. So we were shooting there with a group of 8 or 10, and I see my sight is not great, and I'm not wearing glasses when I'm shooting, so. I saw there was a girl shooting like furthest away from us, and then we always ski loops around the fence just to warm up and stuff. So, still not knowing who she was, I was like, "You can come over to us and not be so by yourself." And then I don't know, from saying that, we started talking about rifle adjustments and all the things that she's done, and then. Her dad, I think, carved part of her handle. Well, of course, then I'm all ears, right? Because I want to know more. So then talked about 3D printing and all that stuff. And then
And she was like, "Oh, my friend Logan Pletz." Yeah.
And I went back to take a picture and send it to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think she is actually flew out today, same as Matt Strom, who are participating in the upcoming IBU Cup.
Okay.
And then I think it's just a matter of because I think there's kind of a lull on the IBU Cup.
So there's a week off, and then
that.
the European Championships will be in
right. Yeah,
not so this coming weekend, but the weekend after. Yeah.
Yeah. So if I remember correctly, I think they're both doing that, but I'm not sure. And then depending on how things go, they're hoping to, qualify for the team. But
hey, I mean, Emily Dixon was actually having a really good year on the IBU Cup back in the first trimester. I mean, she's not like top 10 in the overall or anything, but she was actually looking really good. So it wouldn't stun me if she went to the European Championships and had some good finishes.
Yeah. Fingers crossed.
Hey, speaking of athletes that might be back, Hanna Oeberg.
I know, she looks good, hey?
Looks good. Yep. So, Fast skiing.
Shooting is more consistent.
10th in the individual. What was she? I think 6th today in the mass start. She had a really good leg in the relay for the second week in a row. It feels different. I mean, this feels like she's getting back to her normal self. And I don't feel like we've seen her look that good in a while. So I was really happy to see that.
Yeah.
Maybe she'll, maybe I feel like it was 2 years ago now. She started out kind of slow and built towards this peak and then had this amazing world championships where she had like 3 medals. And I feel like that, I don't think she's going to have 3 medals, but I feel like she's building in that same manner of she is going to kind of almost come out of nowhere to be very, very much in the picture when we get to
There's actually a number of athletes, hey?
Yeah, you're not kidding.
Anna Gandler is starting to...
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Get back at her last year's shape, and then the Swiss all seem to be getting stronger and stronger.
Absolutely. Amy Becerra, her first podium in the individual was excellent, and that's been a couple of really good races for her in a row. I think the Gasperin sisters also, I mean, I don't think they were all-time great performances. I think Alyssa Gasperin actually in the individual had 13th, and that was her best finish since 2019. So I maybe that was just their plan all along. They say, we don't need to perform well all season, but we'll build towards the big one. And speaking of Swiss athletes that are building towards the big one, how about our
Burkhalter?
Was that? Oh, was it Burkhalter? But I was going to say, how about previous guest Nick Hartweg?
Oh yeah.
And now he fourth
so
in
exciting, right?
Fourth in the individual. Yeah. He had a huge. Did you see this in the mass start today? I think he was in like 24th place, leaving the range after the third shoot. He ended up in 10th. It could be. It might have been the second shoot, but it was a massive comeback to climb all the way back.
With 2 misses.
Yeah, to get all the way back
shot
up
clean
to.
And he had 1 miss. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, he's really reminds me a bit of when he won the BIP.
Do you remember? Do you know?
Then.
Do you know the last time that he had 4 straight top 10s?
No, I don't think. Did he have it?
Never. This is the first time ever. So he is not only back, but he is on fire. I love it.
There was one other. Who was I going to mention? Oh, do you think Lotte Lee is still as excited about Maya Klutins?
Stealing her thunder? Is that what you're going to say?
Yeah. She beat her. She got in 13th, which was awesome for her.
Yeah.
Maya Klutins.
Yes.
And Lotte was 23rd. So
yeah, it's kind of cool though, right?
But it's fantastic that 2 women in the mass start for Belgium.
Yeah. So
awesome.
For the second time, right? Because I think that happened earlier this year, and honestly, they had 2 in the mass start. That's it's just sort of becoming a thing. And every time that Klutens runs in the mass start, she just accumulates that many more points, and it'll keep happening again and again.
And are they in the top I guess I can't see the standings before, but anyway.
So we're kind of bouncing around a little bit here, but so it was an interesting, we've talked a lot about the women, but we had this sort of interesting contrast between the women and men this week, because we had, on the women's side, I already mentioned how the top women really came to play. And on the men's side, we had, not that these were complete unknowns, but we had 2 first-time winners, with Surum winning the individual and Giacomel in pretty impressive fashion winning the mass start today.
Yeah.
Do you think that that's kind of where we're heading? You know, with when JT Bowe is no longer here, is it going to be sort of a? I mean, we'll obviously see more first-time winners because he took up so many of the wins. But but is it just going to be more of a free-for-all? We're just going to see sort of like this rotating list of men who could win races?
Well, I mean, one of Bo's strength was that he was always in the mix, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in that sense, I mean, I don't think there was, well, maybe Sturla Holmberg at some point, but it's not like every year there was one guy who was always second or third.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, we talked about this last week. The difference between IBU Cup level, top athletes on IBU Cup level and the World Cup is really not that big. Mostly French and Norwegians and Germans maybe, but still. I mean, and Emilien Claude. You know?
Yeah.
He won the race in Canmore 2 years ago
in
the IBU Cup. And now he was almost a minute behind, so it's not like he lost it by a second, but
he looked really good for a long time though.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I'm sure he's pretty excited about second place, right?
Yeah. Well, you look just at this list right here. You got Claude, and then you got Hornig, who has a number of World Cup starts, but primarily has been an IBU Cup athlete the last few years, and there they were, second and fifth.
Well, and a lot of these names. I mean, Rastoguyev has been strong in the past. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, third place. Hornig is doing great. Otto Evinius in seventh.
Yep.
You know,
you
David
mentioned Burkhalter earlier.
In Oberhof was not going very well. Now he gets ninth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Giacomel keeps popping up. That guy just makes me happy.
Oh, yeah. Oh, so funny story about Giacomel. Today in the mass start, he had a number of misses early. And at one point, he fell so far behind that I actually thought he dropped off, because I kept looking at the biathlon results and just trying to see where he was, and it was just taking so long for him to pop up, as having hit each checkpoint. I mean, thankfully he did not, but I was worried about him, but no, he's been having a pretty solid year actually.
Maybe he did JT Bowe.
Yeah, he's like, well, that was fun. Well, yeah. I think men's biathlon is sort of, it's heading toward this place where, I mean, there will obviously be a ton of Norwegians who have it, will certainly take up their fair share of victories. But I also think that there are just going to be some other odd winners, right? You're going to see an Emilien Claude sort of come out of nowhere. And I think you're going to see a Hornig, maybe not get a win, but maybe he's not that far away. So I think that
I really wonder how much Wax was part of this race, and not necessarily the starting groups, because it's kind of all over the place, the numbers. But if you consider like Sturla Holmberg with 2 misses, which for him is well, I wouldn't say a lot, but he could still be in the race typically. Emilien Jacquelin, 2 misses, typically would still be in the race with that.
That was weird. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think
Perrault,
QFM and yep, exactly. Yeah.
So that surprised me a bit, and I mean there are later starters, but
I do think the wax was kind of interesting this week. I'm glad you brought it up, because I think it was the women's relay, the Norwegian, like the Wax Mafia, definitely nailed it, because I remember watching. You look at like who the top skiers were, and like the Norwegian women who, I mean, don't get me wrong, like they're very good athletes, but they were sort of skiing above where you would expect them to be. And I don't have it at my fingertips right now, but you would see like Maren Shirkaidi was skiing faster than Jusim Brazavushek, which is just strange.
Right.
And I remember distinctly watching Femsteinevek coming down one of the slopes, and she just sort of stayed in her tuck and just kind of went right by everybody. And it was, but in with pace. So I do think there might have been something a little bit interesting about the snow this week that maybe didn't come across just by looking at the weather report.
Yeah, and obviously you would think that has a bit of an impact on the shooting as well, in the sense that you glide a bit longer, so you can slow down your heart rate a little bit earlier. I don't know. It's well, what do we know about the whole wax and stuff? But it seems still that it's kind of all over the place, and even within a team, because you look at Stronsheim, 1 miss, 18th. Lagerud, I mentioned, Taribo, 2 misses, more than 2 minutes, and then Sørum, okay, he had no misses, but he must have been. I didn't look at the ski times, but he must have had a pretty good course time. He
was very good until the very end, when, of course, he had such a monumental lead that he just sort of backed off. But he was, I think, when he turned off the gas, like he was up by like 1 minute and 10 seconds, so he had no need to at that point,
What did you think of JT Bow?
I think
the JT Bow show, was it part of already knowing?
Yeah, so with the benefit of hindsight, like it totally changes the way I look at it. At the time, I was like, that's really strange. And I was really worried about his physical fitness, and I was like, man, if he must be feeling terrible, because you look at his course time ranks, and he looked good to start, and then he had 1 miss, and then he suddenly went down to 11th. And I don't know when the last time was I saw a healthy JT Bow with a course time rank of 11th for a second lap of anything. Right, that was just strange. And then it just went down again, and I was just like, that's bizarre. And it's not what you would normally expect. And then, of course, he gets to the final shoot where he just mows him down, waves to the crowd, and is sort of just lazily skiing until Jacqueline pumps him up and
whips him with his pole.
Yeah, gets him to finish. It sort of shames him into finishing the race a little bit. And I don't mean shames him. I think he genuinely gave him some encouragement and support, because I think they
totally
I think they do have a warm relationship.
Yeah, and I did find it so funny that it was exactly him.
Yes.
Yes. And we've talked in the past about not
it could have been anybody, right? It could have been anybody, but it happened to be Jacqueline right there at that moment. Yeah, it was kind of perfect.
And
but
then good for him too.
After that, JT Bow really, he stressed himself and had the absolute slowest 5th lap. So I think he really went full bore after that. But, I think with the benefit of hindsight, I wonder if he was grappling with the decision at the start of the race and just mentally was out of it immediately and was like, what am I doing here?
See, and that's exactly when you said, you mentioned something about him physically not being completely there.
Yeah.
To me, it felt more like a mental thing. Like you said, he mows him down, and then he's like, thanks, everybody.
Yeah.
Remember me for this kind of stuff,
Yeah.
It was fun. Yeah. It was not a race, of course, but who knows? Would be nice to just be able to pop open that lid and peek in what's going on in the brain, but it's not something, like when I saw it happen, I was like, really weird.
It was.
What?
It was very strange when it happened. I think we were all talking about, like, what was that? But, I think, like I said, with the benefit of hindsight, it all looks different.
Mm-hmm. Want to move to the women?
I would love to.
Or do you want
and I certainly will come back to. I'll certainly come back to some more things on the men's side. But yeah, I would love to move to the women because there's plenty that I want to talk about there too.
Right off the bat, I want to throw in Océane Michelon again.
Yeah,
she just keeps doing so well.
Oh yeah,
and still feels like under the radar a bit.
She's so good. I look at her in Richard and I'm like, doesn't even matter if Simone or Brisabuche have bad races anymore because we got Richard and Michelon who are just stepping right up and they're so young, like they were kids.
Did you see the standings?
I sure did.
So it's Jean Monod in second, Richard fifth, Simon sixth, Michelon seventh, Brisabuche eighth. Yeah,
I know. Yeah, little. We talked about rearranging on the Norwegian team, but how about the French women are having a little rearranging too?
Yeah.
I quickly just want to talk about Simone because I feel for her, and I know that some fans have sort of a complicated relationship with her after the credit card thing, but I feel for her right now because just watching her last week in the pursuit when she, we talked about that picture of her with her head in her hands, when she had those 4 misses, and then, she had a really good relay as the French women came all the way back with her and Justine, but obviously didn't look like herself in the individual, and then today in the mass start, it was really a struggle, and she said something publicly afterwards and mentioned how she's just struggling. She's struggling. She's got a mental fatigue now of dealing with it, and she's obviously going to keep working at it, but that's hard. It's hard to watch a champion. The same thing, with Vitelzi for a couple years ago when her prone shooting and obviously that was much worse when her prone shooting just fell off, but you watch a champion sort of hit a mental wall, and
especially both of them.
I know, and you want them to figure it out, and you want to see them at their absolute best again.
Well, and it's such interesting timing that both Simon and Justine Brisabuche have such a up and down season.
Yeah,
with huge outliers.
Oh yeah.
And at the same time that they pop up cans of French biathletes who can compete left, right, and center.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, and we can talk about it all day.
I mean, up till last year, you would have said, well, Simon and JBB are basically the set names, and then Lou is working really hard to also make it to that list. Mm-hmm. And then there's some talent, but man,
Lou is definitively the number one now.
Yeah, we're 5 World Cups in, and I could totally see them win gold at the World Championships.
Yeah,
but at some point they're gonna start thinking, right?
Yeah, you start wondering, like, do you take one of them off? And I don't know how you take one of them off the relay, especially after what they just did. In the relay where I joked that I don't know if I texted you this or what, but that they pulled a Sweden where they relied on their 2 horses there to pull them back from 10th place back to the podium. But their individual results just are not there right now between the 2 of them.
Well, and the mass start from
it was
Justine Brisabuche, 8
really rough.
Misses.
Yeah.
Whew. And that can be a bit.
Yeah.
I'm looking for a word, but like I could easily see that when you hit or when you miss 2 and then 4, that'll, your skiing is not going to be, because her ski time is 27th.
Yeah.
And you look at all the others this season, it's like 1, 2, 4, 2, 1, right? So obviously she probably after those 4 misses, she was like, whatever.
Yeah, she said, I'm done. Whatever.
So you can't really say that she had a bad race, but it's not like she gave her best and still only got. Yeah, it's an interesting development with just so much talent. Almost all seem to be on the way up.
Yeah, and you're right. I mean,
And then these,
it's not like the IBU Cup coffers are empty, because they've got
I know
even more. They've got even more women coming.
Well, but it's also funny that just when you think like, oh my God, they got a horrible season, all of a sudden they get a second place, or
Yep.
or they did what they did in the relay.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
It's interesting.
So, yeah, and so Michelin had the fourth, and Richard got her first podium today, and you've talked about sophomore slumps. It'll be interesting to see how those two do next year, right? Will they be able to maintain this through, or will they take a step back? It's a really complicated. It's complicated.
Well,
it's a lot of moving pieces.
Interesting to follow Paula Botte.
Yes, yeah.
Obviously winning her first race, but also having some ups and downs, clearly.
Yeah.
And that's what you can expect at a younger age, especially new on the World Cup. They're going to have their ups and downs, but
for sure. Yep. Yeah. It's it is an excellent team. They've got immense talent all over the place, and I almost feel like they it's easy sometimes for me to overreact. Biathlon 23 is probably laughing somewhere right now. But to some 1 week of racing, I think more of what my thought process right now is because seeing Simone say that, right, and put words to it, and bring about that there really is like a mental block right now and a mental fatigue, and obviously you mentioned Justine not looking quite as chipper, as bouncy, as happy this year, and obviously it's been more of a struggle, and I think that sometimes the further on we get in our careers, and we've had some success, that it's almost more pressure to keep the success going, right, than finding it the first time. It's like once you've done it, and then the expectations get there. I wonder if that plays a role as well, because Simone talked about being mentally fatigued last year too.
Yeah,
this is like 2 years.
That whole credit card thing must have taken a toll too.
Yeah,
I don't know if it still plays, but it's funny because I was just thinking, how they always say getting to the top is easier than staying at the top.
Yeah.
I've to this day never heard an actual reason or explanation for it. It's just something that a lot of people say.
Yeah.
But it's
this is sort of the representation.
That they're also, yeah. But yeah, overall, there's just a lot of up and down, even like almost all women. That's the thing, Preutz, and to a certain extent, Lou, and Minkinen are the ones that have been
every week
are really solid.
Yeah,
and don't have a lot of crazy results, and because even Oeberg, Elvira, has
she's
a
had some rough
fantastic
days.
race today. But she's had some rough races, and
yeah. I mean, that's why Preutz has the pretty solid lead that she has right now. Is because she just Oberhof aside, she's been pretty much on the podium every race, and it's remarkable consistency in a field that is not very consistent. And I'm glad that you brought up Suvi Minkinen. Thank you for setting me up.
Is that still your favorite biathlete at this
point?
My
gosh,
or have you moved on?
So on our outline, I have Suvi in all caps with about 17 exclamation points after it. 2 more top 10s, 8th and 5th. This is her 4th top 5, 8 top 10s, 12 races. And I'm going to do this every week that this keeps going. She had 1 top 10 before this season. And again, she has 8 this year and 4 top 5s. She's 4th in the overall. This is just absolute most wild thing, because it's not like she went from being like a top 20 athlete to being like if she had been like 20th in the overall and was now like 8th or 9th, you'd be like, all right, that's really cool. But like this is a jump from like the 30s, 40s all the way to the top 5 that I don't remember seeing anything like this, especially from somebody who was 30. It's crazy. I mean, what she did this summer was
peak age, though, right? For a lot of women.
Oh, sure, but that's still like you would expect to have seen a little.
Oh no,
bit.
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
It's just it's remarkable. I mean, she's shooting 92%, which is now like her 4th or 5th season of hitting over 90%, and her skiing just really, really improved. And she mentioned today after the race that that she was skiing behind Preuss, and she gave Preuss a lot of credit for setting the pace so much of the day. But on the other hand, she had the strength to keep up with Preuss for the entire race.
Yeah.
So that's like Minkinen from 2 years ago was not doing that. Minkinen from 3 years ago was not doing that. So she put in the work to be able to take advantage of that, and it's cool. I mean, we talked about it last week. She went out and trained in the Alps this summer. The coaching staff obviously put together an amazing training plan, and because you can see, I mean, the rest of the Finnish women are having good success too, and it's just
reminds me a bit of
story.
Last year with Heikki Gross.
Yes, yeah, I would 100% agree. Very similar. Yeah, I love it. And this has been Suvi Minkinen Corner, and we're just going to continue to do it every weekend. And it's fun because she talked about it today. Every race that this continues, like, she doesn't really believe it. It just happens again and again, and it just, listening to her talk about it, it almost feels like she's having an out of body experience with this, and that's really neat. It's really neat to see her overwhelmed by it.
I think that's fantastic that she can keep that mindset.
Yeah.
Just enjoy it. Not think about it, or I'm sure she thinks about it.
Yeah.
But not overthink it. Yeah.
It's so cool. I mean, she is easily the most unexpected person in the top 5 on either side. It's really neat. So,
what? I'm just looking at these results and stuff. It just makes me love biathlon again so much, right? Because we've been talking about how things weren't working for Anna Gantler.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it's,
mm-hmm.
skiing is there, shooting is back.
Mm-hmm.
It's just such an interesting sport.
It can happen so fast. You just look at the individual, and like you said, Anna Gantler was there. Verbonikova in 11th, right? She had a bunch of really good finishes last year.
Mm-hmm.
And we already talked about Alyssa Gasparin, and Regina Ermitz was 20th. Susan Kuelm, Kuelm, was in 12th. I mean, like, there was their best weekend together, and it's fun. It can turn around pretty quickly.
Well, and even that team, like Estonia, like, they had such a fantastic run with the whole team last year.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Then I think with some individual exceptions, they've been kind of struggling this year a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then to see these kinds of results, and it made me think of Poland as well. Like, we've seen the amazing work that they've been doing, and how they even gained an extra spot for this season, and they've had some incredible results already.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have a race where it's just not working out. And again, I don't know how much wax plays a role in that, because it's not like they had like 7 misses. Like, they still shot good. Sidorowicz 2, Maka 2 misses.
Yeah.
So, or form of the day, or a bug going on in a team, you never know. Yeah,
or it might have even been, I mean, like you said, a bug in the team. I mean, it could be that their accommodations weren't great, and they're not sleeping well. I mean, who knows, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying I have heard anything about that. It's just putting out examples.
And man, this 14 spot looks good for Canada, hey?
Gordner. Yes. I think this was just a great week of biathlon, and I probably say that every week. But I remember, like, every single race except for maybe the men's relay. Just being, like, really thrilled, like, the pretty much the entire way through. It was fun, and you had, like, your powerhouse names, like, obviously we've talked about the women, and then in the mass start today for the men, you had, Legride and J. Thibault were up near the front for so much of it. Samuelsson as well, but then you also had these you have your Suvi Minkinens and you have your Anna Gondlers who are showing signs, and you had Emilia and Claude. You just had so many other names that were popping up. Mm-hmm. It's a fun sport. It really is, because you can have that. It's not cross-country skiing just failed to hold my interest as much as biathlon, is because it feels like you sort of see the same names, at the top all the time. And that could just be perception, because biathlon's just better. But it's just fun.
Well, if anything, biathlon is always unpredictable.
Yeah, because there's always a chance that something crazy might happen. But
and there's the Furcads and the Royslands and the JT Bows and Quentin Fillon. Yeah, you just have a season where they're kind of a little above everybody else. But then even it's still super exciting what's happening behind it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, you're never going to have New England Patriots who, win 15 out of 16 or however many games they play.
Except for the one time when Johannes Tingnes boat just mowed down the field week after week.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it was a fun week. Real quick, we talked about him earlier. I just want to mention again Hornig, the I think 25-year-old who has really, sort of, maybe not quite the equivalent of Suvi, because Suvi's been in the top 5 and the top 10 so often, but has just had these really incredible improvements in his skiing. And so this week he had 2 top 10s. He was 5th in the individual, 9th in the mass start, and this year he has raced 11 times. 10 of those are his best 10 finishes of his career. So, I mean, this is just by far and away his career year. He had scored a single point, 1 point, not one race of points, but a 1 point before this year. And so he's just, it's fun. I don't know that I expected anything like this from him. So
it's funny because obviously I've seen his name before this season, and then you're like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
And I'm getting to that stage now where I go through the results and I'm like, huh? Again?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He's up to 24th, right? So he's doing it, right? It's like Suvi. It's gone from being cool, he did it once, to all right, he's becoming a habit for him. I really like that.
Yeah.
So, and he's only 25, so we could be seeing this, if he's able to replicate this, we could be seeing it from him for another couple of years. So I want to mention him. And then Rostar Guyevs, another complicated biathlete, to put it mildly. 3rd in the individual, 5th in the mass start, I think, and definitely is coming along strong and could definitely win another medal at Worlds this year. I mean, there's no reason he can't. Yep. I didn't see it from him in the first trimester, but clearly his whole season's been built around peaking for Worlds, and he's coming along.
Yeah. Yeah, he's always one of those, I guess, outsiders who there's always a chance if people start missing on an individual or...
Surely, yeah.
Right?
Yep. He's going to be around. He's going to be that, and then in a mass start, he can find a way to stick around. He's got the ski
Was it
strength.
last year? I'm trying to think where it was. I thought it was also a race with Rostoguyev, probably in a pursuit or a mass start, where he was leading in quite late in the race, and then he got passed in the end. But man, I can picture the course.
I'd believe it. I mean, last year he had a number of top 5 finishes, top 10 finishes. So I would believe it that happened. He also he medaled at World. So
yeah. Let's see. Yeah. Anyway, it's cool to have those athletes who are probably not going to go for the globe. Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, they're going for it, but they're not realistic to expect them to win the overall globe, but that are still always having a chance to have a good day and compete.
Oh yeah,
for the win.
Yeah, especially, and this is probably American centric of me or North American centric, but it's really nice when they're not Norwegian or French or German, like they're Latvia, like it's him and Biba, and I guess there are a couple of really young athletes that are coming along too right now, but they or Bulgarian, right? Just kind of something cool, just to see a different flag up there and sort of like think about how special it is for biathlon fans and the biathlon community in those smaller nations. It's really neat.
Mm-hmm.
The Swedish men, we talked about Elvira and Hanna a little bit. How do you feel about Samuelsson and Ponsiluoma right now? Do you feel like they're making progress?
I don't know, because I think the whole season they've been having very good races and very disappointing races. From what I remember, typically they're right there with the skiing. And yeah, if they how they brought back the team was incredible. Yeah, even today not today, but with the relay, I think when he was shooting his final shot, I was a bit nervous, but he did very well. So I don't know. I still have a hard time seeing either of them as a true challenger for the globe. I mean, obviously they're always in it. They always have a chance to win the race. But I still don't see him as real contenders for the World Cup overall standings.
Yeah, that's kind of where I land too. I mean, this relay thing that they do, and I'll talk about them as individuals too, but this relay thing that they do where they just rely on Ponsiluoma and Samuelsson to bring them back. Like, I don't know how it keeps working. Like, it just doesn't, like, it is such a ridiculous strategy, but it works because those guys are so fast. And, I always expect that, like, this is, it's all going to fall apart. And I guess the good news for them is it can probably only get better, because if one of their lead guys, Victor Brandt or Brandt and or Jesper Nellen has a better day, then they're not digging out of such a big hole, and they could actually win. But I don't know.
But they even didn't Nellen had 5 reloads, but
yeah, it wasn't a penalty loop day for him.
Yeah,
I don't know. I think they were in 13th. I guess they were 13th, but time-wise, they weren't so far behind.
Right.
Samuelsson, I still think, he at least has been a little bit more consistent than Ponsiluoma, but Ponsiluoma has just been the most head-scratching thing for me. I guess he's never been the best shooter, but he's always been better than this. And
it does feel like he's getting better, though.
It does feel like he's gaining steam. It does feel like he's getting steam and getting better. And same thing as Hanna. We talked about her earlier. Getting better as well. So I don't know. Maybe would it stun me, right? If they I probably would, right? If they came out at Worlds and suddenly were dominating Worlds, yeah, that would probably stun me. But I wouldn't be floored to see them competing top 5, win a medal here or there, right? That would.
Oh, not at all.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be shocked to see him win either.
Yeah, and their trajectory is where you want to see it. It's not like they're showing better. The Swedish team just is sort of weird to me. I always expect at the beginning of every season that they're going to be more consistent throughout the year, because we sort of joke about it now that they have this great early season peak, and then they sort of come down and they peak up for Worlds and just sort of try to hang on. And I always wonder, is there going to be a year? And maybe if they change over the coaching staff or something, it might change. But not that they have a need to do that right now. But
well, I think there's some people in Sweden that think otherwise, because apparently there's a lot of pressure on the coaching right now.
Well, that's fair, right? I mean, that's fair. I was thinking
maybe it's the coaching philosophy or the type of athletes that they have, that they just do better at peaking at individual, well, like World Championships or maybe Olympics, or maybe they just do better at that than being consistent the whole season and win a globe.
But yeah, and that's totally fair. That really could be the case. I feel like we are missing now several seasons of the peak years of Hanna and Samuelsson. And they're still relatively young, right? They're not old. It's not that they're at the end of their careers. But I just sort of wonder, with a different philosophy, could they have done something differently? And I don't think Hanna would trade in her career. I mean, she has a bunch of World Championship medals, and she's had a very fine career. I'm just curious. And I don't think Samuelsson was necessarily going to take down JT Bowen the last couple of years, but I don't know. I'm just curious.
Samuelsson also, I mean, maybe not as bad as Preutz over the years, but he's also often struggled with coming back from Christmas kind of sick, and he has a bit of a chip on his shoulder too.
He does,
right? And
I can't tell that's an actor.
Was it last year where he was like, because I think he beat Johannes Bo, and then he made some comments about we're coming after you, or I mean, all in good fun, but it still feels a bit frustrating.
Yeah,
or that he's frustrated with how it goes every year.
I'm sure he is.
But,
and I wonder again. I don't know anything, but I wonder, is that he's frustrated at getting dominated by the Norwegians? Is he frustrated at the coaching staff and the way that they are? Their priorities. I don't know. This is me speculating at 11 o'clock at night.
Well,
I wonder if there's a different timeline, a different world, right, where his career, their careers, sort of are coached differently. Would we see different performances? I don't know. Is there a different peak? Is there a higher level that we're just not seeing?
Yeah, I think generally speaking, the German coach there is very highly regarded, and what he has accomplished with this group. But maybe. Personality-wise, it's also some people are just more, diesels that just steam through the season, and others are maybe more peak performers. And
that's fair. That's absolutely fair.
The latter wins you more medals, and the former wins you globes, I guess.
Yeah, it's all a matter of what you prioritize.
There's you both, but because if you're consistently strong the whole season, then of course the World Championship or Olympics fall in that too. But what do you think of the women's win in the relay?
Oh, I thought that was magnificent, and I appreciated getting the opportunity to see, at least for one lap, Elvira and Preuss sort of going head to head, and it didn't quite unfold the way that I was hoping. I was hoping it would come down to the very, very end, but it was still fun to see them matched up together, both with a chance to win. And really, Preuss was magnificent, getting the win. I really liked it. I like seeing home fans get to go wild, and it just was really cool to see them get to cheer on their women. First time Germany has 2 straight wins since the 2016-2017 season. It's been a little while, so it's really neat to see them get that. I was happy for them. And Preuss really has settled into that anchor role.
Mm-hmm. Did you read into anything with the Lou Jamonot sitting out, or was it like, hey, this is
I have no idea.
A team that can totally win? So,
I wonder about that.
I thought today she seemed to, well, actually a couple of races she has seemed a little flat with the skiing, even though when you look at the numbers, it's really not bad at all. But
or is this another instance? Remember, was it last week or 2 weeks ago? I shared all those times where she's come to the final shoot with a chance to win or a chance to podium and had a miss or two, and this was, add this on there. I don't want to make too big a deal about that because since I said that, I think she had the win in the pursuit and the win in the individual, so it's not like I think this is a crippling problem for her, but
no.
Yeah, she's having a very good season. But I do think it's interesting that she sat out the relay. I know they announced it as just purely rest, but we know that there's something going around. There's a bug that's going around the field, so maybe she got a touch of something, just a little bit under the weather, and thought resting was the best for her and the team long term.
Yeah, and this was definitely one of the races Elvira probably wants to forget.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was tough. Thankfully, I mean, she obviously did forget it because she came back today and was absolutely perfect. You know, I don't know if we talked a lot about Elvira in particular today. I think I moved straight on to Preuss, but I think now, what are we, like an hour and 20 minutes in, is probably a good time to do it. It was a cool race from her, right? It was sort of restrained, right? And you talked about at the very beginning of the season, the maturity of Elvira, and this felt like a very mature race. She had several opportunities where she could have flexed her ski strength and really tried to punish, the other women like Doro and even Jean Minot, right? Like if Elvira is going to go full blast, we saw it last week in the pursuit, like nobody can touch her except maybe Lompich. I mean, it's really not a long list. And she didn't. She just kind of was like, all right, it will be a steady pace and it's not going to be easy, but we're not going to go full blast. And I think she had a lot in reserve if she needed it, and she didn't need it because she just kept hitting her targets, and that was a totally different way for her to win. It was
and she seemed to take a bit more time.
She did, right? Yeah,
right.
There was no rushing on the shooting. Yeah, and I think that too. I think she knew I can take 3 extra seconds, 5 extra seconds, because catching up to these women is really not going to be that hard. I can do it.
I wouldn't say if it was not that hard, but
I'm obviously being a little bit silly, but yeah. I'm impressed by her performance today, and it was a different style of racing that I don't know that we've seen her do a lot. We've seen a lot more races like the Pursuit, maybe not to that level, but the Pursuit last week, than races like today.
Yeah.
Did you, speaking of the mass start today, Veer, do you think that this was just a day where she happened to, hit her shots, or do you think this was a sort of a marker that she is going to be a factor when World Championships come around?
Well, given the fact that Giacomel won, my guess is that the Italians had a good day in the wax.
Yeah.
And I mean, we always know that she, on a good day, can shoot clean or only one miss. Mm-hmm. I didn't expect, because it wasn't that long ago that she shot clean in a race and she was still 20th or 15th.
Yeah.
So, yeah, maybe combination of wax and getting in better shape. I mean, obviously, Antholz next week. She'll. I don't know if she needs extra motivation, but must be definitely nice to race so close to home, and then I do think when you get older, you probably do focus more on individual championships rather than a globe. Because it is so hard to be consistent. And then, so yeah, maybe she's focusing on the World Championships and just starting to get into shape. I don't know. I loved seeing it. It's one of the races that I did watch fully from the start, and I think I was checking out some stats during the race, and all of a sudden I realized that she was still, I think, third at the time. It's cool to see. And then, she gets beat by a 22-year-old who I think has was that her first podium?
First podium, yep. Yeah.
Do you usually stick around for the medal ceremonies?
If I have time, I will. Like if it's just, today I did not. And I did for the men because I wanted to see Giacomel, but
right.
I did not for the women.
Okay.
And then I guess we didn't talk about either one of the Mass Start winners because Giacomel. I mean, what a moment to remember for him. I mean,
especially since the season wasn't going.
Yeah,
like it didn't seem. We talked about him when he was battling with Hartweg that season, and then you're always like, hopefully they can continue. And I think for different reasons, it wasn't really working out that way. So to just pull it together then, and it just talk about a solid, mature race with Elvira.
No kidding.
I mean,
no kidding. Yeah, it's got to be hard. You getting in that moment, and you've never won before, and you've got those two guys, right? I mean, it's not like you've got. No offense to like Roster Guyevs or anything like that, but it's not right. You know the two guys right behind you are the two best, right? They are number 1 and number 2 in the overall, and have been for most of the last 5 years. And he just showed no fear. That was incredible. I was really, really impressed. It's no small feat, and he celebrated, and he looked like he enjoyed it, and he should, because
yeah, I would hope so.
Yeah, he should.
Right?
You think about your first World Cup win, and I don't think in a million years he could have imagined that it was going to go exactly like that. That was magnificent.
Mm-hmm. I was happy to see too that Leigert was able to hold off.
Yes. Yeah. I was.
Yeah,
so. Speaking, we talked about JT Bow and his physical fitness. I think that was probably a pretty good sign for him that he was able to almost bring back Sturla, right? Because that was a decent deficit he started with, and he went for it, almost did it. So I think that's a good check mark. Obviously, if he had pulled back Sturla, that would have been an even better check mark.
Well, but I do think he was probably he could probably be closer. Obviously,
yeah.
Because at some point he must realize, okay, it's not gonna.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna pull him back and then take the foot off a little bit.
Yeah. There's no at that point.
There was no threat from the back, or
losing to Lagrade by 3 seconds and 7 seconds doesn't make a difference.
By the way,
cool.
I had no idea that Tarjei Bow and Eric Perrault were in a relationship. That they were making out right after the finish line.
No, they could barely wait until they got across the line.
I know, and I just noticed they have exactly the same time. They're both at 12.
Who I forgot now. But who was it that came sliding across?
Tarjei fell to his right.
Okay.
I tried to I didn't look back or anything, but I kind of kept an eye on it, and it didn't seem like they were helping each other up or.
Oh, I think they were fine because Tarjei. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'm not saying that they were fighting or anything, but it also. I was kind of expecting that they were helping each other up and stuff, and I didn't see that. It doesn't mean it didn't happen, but.
Tarjei. I think I saw him make a joke on Instagram about it later, so I think that they were pretty chill about it. That was it was pretty funny.
Well, especially for 12th place, right?
I know. Yeah.
I mean, I think it's fantastic that they're going for it.
Yeah. Especially those guys, right? Funny. I mean, it's 12th place to both of them is not that big a deal anymore, but it's just fun to see them do it.
Yeah.
Speaking of older men on the Norwegian team, and he's not even that old really, but Christensen really didn't look great.
Well, he did with no misses.
No, but still only finishing 15th with no misses.
No, but I mean, he looked good on the.
Yeah, that's hard. It's hard for me to see. I don't even really understand it, but
So you don't see it as an incident?
Well, I just don't know how does he come back, on the team that already has so many people fighting for position. I don't know how he justifies keeping one at this point.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's just hard.
He has not raced on the IBU Cup this year, does he?
Mm-hmm. Nope, he has not. Yeah, maybe he'll go to the European Championships and sweep up some medals and prove that he should be bumped back up, but I don't know. That's hard. Maybe he's been sick recently too. I don't know.
Has he been turned down? Has it been announced that he's going?
It hasn't been announced, and I guess Uldal went home because he's been
sick, right? Yeah.
But that still puts them at 7 going into Antholz, so they still have to figure out somebody is not going to start. So it's either going to be Christensen or Stromsheim. I guess it could be
I
either
am
one
very
of
happy to see that Dale actually performed. I mean, this mass start wasn't great, but he's had some good results because I'd really hate to see, him winning 3 IBU Cups and then coming back and then having a 20, 24, and 27.
Yeah. When it was funny, he missed his first 2, and I said at that point, well, not ideal start, but might be unlikely. But if he can go 18 of 20, he still has a chance for a top 10, and then he did it.
Yeah.
I was like, yes. I've never been so excited to see someone, finish 9th. It was. I shouldn't say that. I probably have
8th. Yeah.
8th. Yeah. But it was. I felt the same way. I really wanted him to come back there and sort of, prove that he still belonged.
Mm-hmm. I feel like we're missing something. Oh, Strelo looked pretty good.
Oh, he did. Yes, good call. What did he finish? 7th today? Yes. I was really happy to see that. His shooting times were really good too. And you noted, I think a week ago, that his shooting was starting to look more like himself, and I totally agree today. That is the quintessential Strelo race from last year.
Yeah. Also including the fact that some skiers just went by him and he just accepts it because he knows that's, Fiume. He can try and just blow up perhaps. Yeah, no, fast and only 1 miss in standing.
Yeah. Happy to see that. I was also going to mention this is back. I just forgot to say it at the time, but men's relay. We didn't really talk about that at all, except for Sweden. But Estonia was in 9th and Lithuania in 10th. Those are both of their best finishes in quite some time. Belgium also had a really good finish. That was kind of fun. So while the top was a little bit stale, France, I guess,
France,
was that? Yeah, France getting their 3rd straight win. Getting kind of boring up there.
Emilian Cloud doing really good again, though.
Very good.
Only one reload.
Very good. Is he he's sort of established that spot, and not that the French men are as deep as the French women, but I don't think until this year I would have had him penciled in as one of the week in week out starters, but he's certainly not going anywhere now. He's locked in.
Yeah, he's making it hard for coaches to say you're going to go back again.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, he's.
And also, I don't know who they would call up to replace him.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I think Oscar Lombardo is down there. He's been doing all right.
Right.
But again, it's like you said, it's not like they've got a.
Well, and Giguna is still on the World Cup, and not taking anything away from Giguna, but I would send Giguna down before I would send Claude down at this point.
I totally agree. Yeah, I mean, that team's looking pretty good. Germany with the podium too. That was nice.
Yeah.
And then on the women's side, we already mentioned Canada in 9th, but Slovakia, the Slovakian women, were in 7th. And I was really curious, the last time they were in 7th was 2017 in Worlds. I think they were finished in 6th. And funny enough, two of the women are still on the team. Batovska Fialkova, is there, and Kuzmina is back. So they, half the relay still around from the 2017 Worlds. It's pretty wild.
It is. That's crazy. Hey, do you know why Hartweg was not on the men's relay?
To be honest, I didn't even know that he wasn't until just this moment. Maybe just saving his legs. I don't know.
I also feel that Stalder is slowly coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's shooting very strong again.
Yeah. Very slow start to the year, but I think you're right.
Yeah.
Do we mention Burkhalter? I'm sorry if we already did, but
yeah, we did.
Good.
Well, we can mention him again. I mean,
I just
he's
cool.
Giving us reason to.
Yeah, cool to see that finish and getting into
shooting
the match.
Clean.
Yeah,
shooting clean in the relay. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice little weekend, and if that can become, maybe not a every week thing, but once a trimester he has a weekend like this, that'd be pretty awesome. A couple times a year.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's. I find it interesting that the Ukrainian men. I mean, they had sixth in the relay, but then in the mass start, they had a horrible day.
It was strange,
horrible,
right?
But Petrushny 4 misses. It's very unusual. Manson
very strange.
4 misses.
I wonder, maybe just different. Well, no, because we've seen them have a lot of individual success as well this year.
Yeah. Well,
so
especially based on good shooting.
Yeah, exactly. That's odd. And
because even on the individual, I think that Manzin got disqualified. I'm not sure.
I missed. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So.
And Ruhpolding
is not an easy range in quotes. Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Petrushny 8 misses. Manzin,
very strange.
3. Oh, sorry. No, it's Manzin was not. That's not the guy who got disqualified. It's Alexander Mukhin from Kazakhstan.
Okay.
Mukhin? Yeah, not sure. Yeah, sorry, my bad.
Manson makes me think of Campbell Wright and the Blue Bib battle. And poor Campbell Wright. I don't know if you heard about his.
You mentioned, yeah.
Yeah, his experience in the in the relay. He was apparently suffering, as he put it, on both ends. I think he had a little gastrointestinal virus and had just had a rough night. And you can just look at his skiing and tell that he was not feeling all the greatest. So hopefully he recovers well for Antholz and for Worlds.
God, and he only had one miss, one reload.
Pretty good for not feeling. He just wanted to get out of there. He's like, I cannot spend any more time here.
No, but that would increase the skiing speed maybe. But heads off, man. That's and hopefully he can recover soon and feel better.
Any other World Cup thoughts? Because I had a couple of things on the IBU Cup and Junior Cup that I thought were worth sharing.
No, you know what? I'm sure we're going to hang up and then I'm like, I wanted to bring this or that up, but.
Every week happens.
It was just a very highly enjoyable weekend.
It really was. It really, really was. I know I probably say that every week, but it was. All right, real quick. Won't take too much time on this because if you've listened this long, well, thank you. Sievert Bakken, huge moment in his comeback. He won the short individual this week in Brezno. So I never imagined that his comeback would come this quickly and this smoothly. So he's been collecting some top finishes and now gets a win in the short individual, and that was really amazing. And then there's a woman, Voldaya Galmase Paulin. I'm butchering that. These French women have the craziest names, and it kills me. Anyway, so she is 19 years old, and she now has 4 straight podiums on the IBU Cup with 2 third places and now 2 second places. So there you go. There's another one that is working her way up. Sophie Chabot had a couple top 10s being back on the IBU Cup. But the other thing, Paul Schomer, most of you guys will recognize the name. He has been an American biathlete for a number of years. He hasn't really raced in almost 2 years now. He's been suffering with these knee problems, and he's worked really hard to come back. He returned to the IVU Cup last weekend. This weekend, he finished 7th in the sprint. And I'm really proud of him, because at this stage of his career, he could have easily just said, you know what, I don't want to deal with this anymore. But he fought, he got all the way back, and 7th in the sprint's a really cool thing. So, congratulations to Paul Schomer, and that's, you got to love it. You have to love the sport. You have to love the work. So, and then down on Junior Cup, 2 things. Sondre Slettemark, Ukaleq Slettemark's younger brother, won the Mass 60 and the sprint on back-to-back days, which is crazy. He, Ukaleq is a tremendous shooter. Her brother is actually a better skier than shooter. So if he can get a couple tips from Ukaleq on the shooting, and that can come along, I'd be very excited. I think we are really going to see a couple of Greenland athletes on the World Cup. That's cool. I mean, that's fun. That's exactly what I want to see.
Totally, yeah.
And then there was a woman, Sydney Westerling, is a 16-year-old German woman, 16, and she finished 6th and 9th in the 2 sprints. And racing against people who are 5-6 years older than her was a top 5 skier, which is not bad at all. And then last thing, Matija Legovic is a Croatian gentleman. He's been a junior. He's raced on all levels, for the last couple of years. But he has just been collecting top 10s like crazy. He's actually number 1 on the Junior Cup, and I just think it would be cool to see someone from Croatia win the Junior Cup overall. So I'm really hoping that he can finish this off strong.
That is cool. Yeah, and it's one of those names where you just really hope that he can actually make it to the next level, right?
Oh, I know, right? Like, wouldn't it be cool? I mean, wouldn't it be fun, right? In this era potentially of, we started out talking about JT Bow and him not being there, but in this potentially new era where there might be some more openness. If you could see an athlete from Greenland, you could see an athlete from Croatia, maybe not winning the overall or anything crazy like that, but just being competitive. It'd be a lot of fun. And then you throw in Campbell Wright in there, from the United States, just to see some different flags, some different representation.
Well, and if consider, for example, Christian Wolf's fellow countryman, Rasmus Schillerup.
Yeah.
84th, 1 spot ahead of nobody less than Johannes Tingesbo.
He can talk about that for the rest of his life.
Oh, could you imagine, like, going through the final results on the paper and be like, they're not going to take that away from me.
No.
Don't forget about why, and I'll be on that list. Like, I would not, if he does not print that out and frame it.
You better, I'll do it for him. I will print it out, frame it, and mail it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Man. Yeah, it would tickle me. It would tickle me to see these guys, doing a little Nick Hartweg impersonation in a few years.
Yeah.
This has been a long one, guys.
Small nations. Hey, Marcus Boland Webb.
Oh,
from Great Britain. Got in 102nd, but races on the World Cup. And it's definitely 10 times higher than I ever will be. So,
infinite spots higher than I will ever be.
29 years old. He has 6 races, so it's not his first one. But it is his first this season. So, I mean, I like seeing that.
It is fun to see. You talked about the Greek athletes last week. Just fun to see these countries that you never see, just to see them out there. And even if they don't, even if the results aren't that good, hey, they're out there, right? They're doing it.
Yeah, and to make it to the World Cup, For somebody from Greece or Great Britain,
Yeah.
I totally feel that you can say, participation is already a crazy achievement. And I'm not saying that for, French or German. Well, for French, it's also a big achievement just because there's so much talent.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean, right? Like when
I
you're
know exactly
a
what you're
French
saying.
talent, it's sort of the hope/expectation that you're going to make it to the World Cup.
Yeah.
When you're in Greece and somebody says roller skiing for biathlon, that's...
You're doing it pretty much on your own at that point.
Yeah. So I have a lot of respect for that.
Absolutely. And I think that's a really great note to end it on. Just a nice optimistic note.
All right. We'll go with that. Thanks everyone for listening. And hopefully Antholz is not going to disappoint. And then I really need the weekend after to have a mental break because it's been
a lot.
So much excitement and so much happening. And obviously, I guess the biggest item in the news is obviously JT Bow announcing hanging the rifle up after the season.
RJ, we didn't even... Did you see the announcement about, was it one loop or first loop?
Sorry.
Yeah. So the IBU announced before the week started a season opening event in Munich for like a roller ski event. Huh. It won't count towards the overall. Yeah. So look, we did the entire hour and 45 minute, whatever this is, episode, right? And just now did I think about this thing that the IBU put this huge presentation and announcement about at the beginning of the week. So we'll have to talk about that in the future. It's a good off-season episode.
It really feels that we've talked about roller skiing event in Munich.
We did talk about it because there was a rumor about it, and then
okay.
Yeah, and it got officially announced. Yep.
Okay. Sweet. Well, let's not worry about that too much yet.
No. Well,
we got a few races left. So.
We know one athlete who will not be there. That's what we know.
Which is
JT Bow.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. All right.
I know.
Have a good one, everybody.
Hey, you didn't ask me about my race.
Yeah, we didn't ask you.
Yeah, it was canceled.
Yeah, that's why I didn't ask, because I already did.
Yeah, no, I don't. Just kidding. Yeah.
All right,
man.
Take care. Thank you. Nobody's listening anymore.
Hopefully, they'll let you in the house. Yeah.
No, I'm right locked out.
There's always a couple. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. All right, man. We're getting out of here.
Yeah. We'll chat soon.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.